Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to News Talk with yours truly, Chris Ano, coming up from the great state of Texas, precisely Houston, Texas. It's always a privilege to come to you with what goes on in Africa and where we call the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Tonight, a lot is happening in Senegal. Senegal is bound to produce the youngest president in African history. I'm going to be talking about the recent quest by Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH to have an Anglophone, as he calls it, Anglophone president in Cameroon. And he says that could serve like the magic wand that takes away the Anglophone problem as they describe it. And lastly, we're going to be going to Momo in the Momo County to look at the insertion over there of one FOMUNYOH in the Momo by the almighty Tanganji. In La République du Cameroon, the government in that country has now developed the habit of inserting who they desire to be a fon or a chief in any community, and they did that recently in Momo County, precisely in Momo. And that is where I'm going to be taking you tonight, and of course, I will be taking your questions. The phone lines will be open, and I will take your questions. Please go ahead as usual. Hit the share button if you are watching by way of Facebook or YouTube. Go ahead and hit your share button. If you are watching by television in Africa, anywhere, let them know the anchor man is not live. He is alive, strong and well. Please, I will be right back in the next 1 minute. For staying put, ladies and gentlemen. On my first stop, I take you over to Senegal, where Our first youngest African president is being produced in the name of Bassirou Diomaye Faye. That is his name. 44 years old, turning 44 years old on the day he is elected president of that West African country. It is indeed history, and it is not only that. This guy is coming from jail, literally weeks, to become the youngest president of Africa, precisely Senegal. And again, that is my first stop for you tonight. My question I come to you today is, who is Bassirou Diomaye Faye? Who is him, the newest president in Africa? Bassirou Faye was thrust into the center of Senegalese politics for only more than a week after he was released from prison, along with his hot-headed mentor, Ousmane Sonko, who was disqualified from standing in the election because of a defamation conviction. The 44-year-old Faye then contested the elections as an independent candidate due to the dissolution of his Patriots of Senegal political party last July for causing unrest. The Patriots of Senegal political party, which was founded by Sonko in 2014, then turned around to endorse Faye. Sonko has been organizing protests against the outgoing president, Macky Sall, accusing his government of corruption and failing to address chronic poverty in Senegal. Sall's decision to extend the elections, originally scheduled for February, triggered the latest round of political crisis that has led to the election of young Faye. The elections were held after the intervention of the Constitutional Court of Senegal. Faye was born in 1980 in West Central Senegal's community of Indiaganao. He met Sonko, his mentor, while working as a tax inspector in the government's taxes and estate department, where they were instrumental in the formation of a labor union. In April of 2023, that is last year, Faye was arrested on charges including spreading of false news, contempt of court, and defamation of a constituted body. All of this for a social media post. Sonko, the mentor, was equally arrested on multiple charges in July last year, including provoking insurrection, conspiring with terrorist groups, endangering state security, and immoral behavior towards individuals younger than 21. But both Faye and Sonko was released late on March 14, that is only days before the election, after an amnesty law passed this month. Faye, a former tax inspector, has pledged to weed out corruption, restore stability, and prioritize economic sovereignty, appealing to the urban youth frustrated by unemployment in the West African country, where 60% of the population is aged under 25. He wants to rid Senegal of the CFA franc inherited from the colonial era, which is pegged to the euro. He has proposed introducing a new currency instead. Additionally, he wishes to renegotiate mining and hydrocarbon contracts for Senegal. The country is expected to start hydrocarbon production this year. The biggest challenge for the new leader would be to address the more than 20% unemployment rate in Senegal. It's an injustice that I can't find work. I was given a state diploma and the state can't find work for me, said Yacoub Diouf, a Senegalese citizen, who told a reporter. 19 candidates were in the fray to replace outgoing President Macky Sall, who has been in power since 2012. Macky Sall's second term was marred by political unrest over the prosecution of Sonko. The election second place, Amadou Ba, was backed by Sall. Victory for Ba, who is 62 years old, would have meant a continuation of the previous government's policy. Other candidates, including former Prime Minister Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne, who dubbed himself, and I quote, the president of reconciliation, and the two-time mayor of Dakar, Khalifa Sall, who was running for the fourth time and has already congratulated Faye. The only female candidate was entrepreneur and political newcomer Anta Babaka Ngom, who runs Senegal's largest poultry company. Ngom has already wished Faye success as the leader of Senegal in an ex-post. In July 2023, Sall announced that he would not contest the election for a third term following deep political unrest, it reiterating that Senegal's constitution would have allowed him to do so. However, Sonko had called for Macky Sall to bow out of this election, accusing him of cracking down on the opposition to sideline competition. Macky Sall provoked further controversy after he delayed the election that was originally scheduled for February the 25th. Term limits have been a hotly debated topic in Senegal for the past 2 decades. When former President Abdoulaye Wade came to power in the year 2000, the constitution did not have term limits. Wade amended it in 2001 to impose a 2-term limit. However, to extend his own time in office, Abdoulaye Wade successfully campaigned for a 3rd term, earning the approval of Senegal's highest court. At least 7 of the 19 candidates in the race have issued statements congratulating Faye on his win. About 71% of the 7.3 million registered voters showed up for the polls, according to state television in Senegal. On Tuesday, final provisional results were expected. Official results may be announced by Friday. But what could the results mean for the future of Senegal's democracy? A victory for Faye is a good sign for democracy in Senegal, said Aliom Tyne, founder of the think tank Africa Jom Center and Amnesty International's former regional director for West and Central Africa. Democracy, he says, was sick in Senegal, with political violence, with state violence, and with death, he says. Tyne referring to the political violence of the last few years, he added that Sonko being unable to contest elections further showed that democracy was sick in Senegal. He says, but Sonko had the brilliant idea of nominating his number 2 to be a candidate. Tyne added that the positive aspect of Senegal's democracy is that since independence, it has never allowed a military coup, unlike other West African countries where political crises have amounted to coups. And that is my story from Senegal. and I love it. I will be right back. When I come back, I bring in my first guest, who will take a few minutes to discuss this Senegal good story. Stay tuned, please.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target.
All right, good evening once more, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for waiting in there. I am being joined by one very articulate commentator that I love a lot on this platform. I am here referring to Comrade Dennis Atemking, who is joining me from Africa. Dennis Atemking has been working for the African Union for a number of years, I believe now retired, but he has a very good insight as to the political developments in all of Africa and the globe. Comrade Dennis, it's a pleasure to have you back with News Talk, please.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris. My greetings to all Ambazonians who are watching. I think your introductory word on the Senegalese election was very, very nice and accurate. One cannot do any other thing but congratulate this young man who has finally emerged as a winner of a hotly contested election in Senegal. But even beyond him, we must praise the Senegalese people for having stood up to defend their democracy. You would notice that of all African countries, can you hear me?
I can hear you, 5 on 5.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. You would notice that of all African countries, the Senegalese have been the people who have proven that power truly belongs to the people. They are the ones who have insisted on limiting the terms to 2 terms. Each time a new person comes and tries to extend the term, the people stand up and block it. And they did exactly that with Macky Sall. And it has finally given them the candidate they want. We pray only that being a young person, even though he falls amongst the younger generation of Africans who are anti-colonialists and anti-imperialists, he should be very tactical in the way he goes about his business, because one must be wary of these French demons who will be plotting how to get him down if he stands on their way. So he has to be very tactical. He has to receive the support of his people. And with that, I think that there's a lot of hope, especially with Sonko behind him.
All
You know,
right.
Sonko has been very vocal against the imperialists, and he has been very, very firm on what he would do if he took power. So we hope that this young man will
What do you make
adopt
of
those policies
Macky
and
Sall,
follow them
the
through.
incumbent, the stepping out, the going out incumbent, uh, actually organizing these elections and stepping aside and allowing it to take place? You know, he tried so hard to go in, maneuver his way, go in for a third term. But what do you make of number one, him stepping aside? Number two, what should the rest of Africa learn from the pressure that the civil society and the people put on him to step aside? And he actually did, and I think he is excited. He is happy. He's put his name in history by stepping down and allowing for free and fair elections. He didn't think of maneuvering it to let the coalition of Mohamed Ba, who were essentially pro-regime accolades, to win the election. He steps aside, allow for free, fair elections. This has happened again. We saw it a few months ago. I think that was in December or so in Liberia, where George Weah organized free, fair elections, contested, lost it, stepped aside, and gave room for. This is not a kind of a revolution that we're expecting in Africa besides the coup d'etats.
Comrade Chris, this is why I congratulate the Senegalese people above everybody else, because of the fact that he was stepping aside, not because he wanted to. You can see the maneuvers through which he went, actually postponing the election, I think, was that to December 2024. But the pressure was so great that he could not, because the country would just break down completely if to get his way. So I think it is also, we must also commend him for finally coming to reason with the people to say, look, if the people don't want me and the people have stood up and said, look, what I'm doing is wrong, let me finally accept it. I think it's a contrast to what we see in Cameroon, isn't it? In Cameroon, they will
Oh,
steal the
quite a
election,
big
they will rig
contrast.
the
We're coming
election.
there, but go on.
Yes, you will see the difference. You see, it is a big difference. Senegal has proven itself to be a fairly democratic country among the African countries, and they have preserved that tradition through the help of their people being able not to be a herd mentality like the people you find in Cameroon. They are firm about what they want, and they stand up and defend it, and they don't allow any leader to run away with power. That is the most important thing that I observe in Senegal. The people to stand up each time and defend the democracy, and they have gotten it. So while we thank Macky Sall for finally listening to the people, we thank the Senegalese people even more for being able to stand their grounds against any leader who tries to run away with power.
Absolutely, and I think all the credit goes to the Senegalese people. I watched the images emerging from Senegal, the streets of Dakar precisely, and you saw young people, you know, weeping and rejoicing in tears that somebody who looks like them, who is coming from them, finally is going to have the final say in their government. Maybe they say the 20% unemployment of the youth. And again, remember, we are told 60% of the Senegalese population is made out of people under 25. Most of these people don't have jobs. This guy is 44 years old, and the people are rejoicing, hoping that he will elevate them from their poverty. What is your perspective on this? Do you see that coming?
It is easier to criticize than to rule. It is not until you take over power that you discover that uh, everybody a job, doing all the things that you criticized when you were in opposition is not as easy as you think. So it might not be very long before we discover whether he's actually able to do the things he promised or not, or whether he can actually tackle this issue of unemployment successfully to the degree to which the people want. But I must assure you that it is easier to criticize than to rule. And we should take every political promise with a pinch of salt. But we wish the young man well. We hope, having worked in taxation, he will understand the dynamics of the system and do something meaningful for his people, especially for the young people who need jobs.
Let me go to Comrade Ephraim, who is joining me here from the U.S., precisely San Antonio. San Antonio. Comrade Ephraim, when you look at the developments in Senegal and you see the zeal of the young people in Senegal to make a difference, change the system in their country. I mean, this guy came out of jail, literally, I think, about 2 weeks after he is going to become the president of Senegal. How do you compare this with the youth of Cameroon, where it appears that instead of fighting to alleviate their situation, they fight for sardine? What can they learn from this?
Yeah, sardine and alcohol. Thank you, Comrade Chris, for bringing me on to the greetings to televiewers. The situation in Africa, and I would say especially Francophone Africa, is a dire one. The youths are more interested in, like you said, fighting for sardine, drinking alcohol, womanizing, just getting together and doing whatever they think pleases them. Immediate gratification. It takes a lot of hard work. And I'm not one of those persons that will expect the new president of Senegal to just succeed overnight and swing the country from what you said 20% unemployment to 0% unemployment. That's what some people may be expecting. But reality will tell us that it is tough to do that. And I call on the Senegalese people to give him a chance. As to the people of La Republique, we all have witnessed what they do, what they're best at doing, what they're very good at doing. Drinking alcohol, fighting for sardine. When it is election time, 1,001 political parties come up and they start beating the drums of the CPDM. But you know what? I don't care much about that. And I shouldn't. Let them do what they want to do in their country, La Republique. Let them do what they want to do in La Republique. I am concerned. My interest is really in what we do in our own country, Ambazonia. But since we're talking today about Cameroon, La Republique, I will call on them to take a page out of the book of the Senegalese people. I know that they have work to do. They have work to do. This scourge of Africa, the prolongation of the stay in power of presidents, be it whatever you want to try to do there, you go to these several other Francophone African countries, especially, where it is time for them to step down, like Biade in La Republique. They go to a constitution, a rubber stamp parliament, or call it legislative, just do whatever the person in power wants them to do. Okay, extend it by, instead of saying only 2 terms, extend it to 3 terms. After the 3 terms, that power is so sweet. Say, okay, no, make it indefinite. Anybody can stay there for as long as they want. So I will call on them. If they want things to change in their country, they have work to do. They have what to do. It's not a bag of salt. It's not a bottle of oil or some little few thousands of their francs. When election time is here, that's going to curb them anyway. Even if you take that amount of, even if you're giving the amount of money to use throughout your life, that is for you alone. Do you think about your neighbors? Do you think about the people in other areas in that country? Or you only concentrated on the little windfall that you have and say you don't care about your country? Where do they keep their patriotism? Where is it? So that country continues to suffer and just go down the drain further and further and further. So it's really sad. And again, Senegal has taught all of Africa a lesson. Thank you.
I would like to ask you before we move to the next subject, what is your take on the fact that this guy, Osme Sonko, the mentor of Faye, was put in jail and he decided to turn power over to his subordinate, Faye, in this place. In Cameroon, for over how many years today that the opposition has been there, they cannot even Frundi, they told Frundi to hand over power to somebody while the SDF was still having some influence. He would not do it. The opposition in general cannot come together to think about a single candidate for that election. What can they learn from Senegal?
Yeah, what he did there is a wonderful gesture of patriotism. Even if it is not me, the system has been changed in a way to get me out of their way, to prevent me from standing. Okay, I can't stand, but I know some other person who can do something close to what I intended to do to make the country more democratic, to get rid of these persons who want to perpetuate their stay in power. So you get another person to do it. He steps in. The issue is not power for me. The issue is the freedom of the country. That is what I see there. In La Republique, you had all the Damud Joyas of the world. This other guy from the northern area of La Republique, and all 1,001 of them will go in for elections. Everybody wants to be president. Everybody wants to be president. They couldn't come around a consensus person. And even when one person finally won an election, no, they thought, okay, it wasn't me, so I don't care. And they let him and a particular group of people fight it all alone. Now, when it came time for Mr. Frundi, of blessed memory, to say, okay, I pass on the baton to the next group or to a younger person, he too was resistant. So it's a scourge, it's a disease. And the earlier we got rid of this, the better for us. Or else it's going to be a continuous scourge on Africa as a whole. Because it has the same kind of thing repeating itself here and there, on and on from one, especially in Francophone Africa, as far as I know.
Well, Dennis, let me get back to you briefly, if you can make a contribution there as to what the Cameroon politician can learn. Now, I say the Cameroon politician, with the exclusion of Ambazonia, because whatever they do there has nothing to do with us. What advice or what would you say the Cameroon politician can learn from what has transpired in Senegal?
Now, Comrade Chris, for the 2025 election, I think it's very short term. Remember that the situation in Senegal is as it is because of the determination of the people. Go back to the Zongan revelations. What we learn from Zongan is that even though the CPDM was one of the parties contesting the elections, they are still the ones who get the results and decide who to whom they will give it.
Right.
You remember that he told us that when the results came in, went to meet all the Francophone opposition leaders to ask them what to do. You get the point? Which means that it was actually the CPDM deciding what to do with the results of the election. Insofar as you have that kind of situation in a country, no other party will win. The political party that is in power will always find a way to put itself there. It will always rig the election, because how could it come about that the CPDM was one of the parties contesting in the election, and they will be the one now going around to ask the other people what to do with the results? You remember that? So that is very telling about how the Cameroon system works. It works through rigging. The results are first sent to the ruling party, which decides whether to take the results or to give them to anybody they want. And in the case of Frundi, they went around asking their countrymen whether to give this to this foreigner who is called Frundi. And all of them ganged up and said, no, we can't give it to this foreigner. So in that, we see how their system works. So if they were do anything, they think they would do now is to change the mentality of Cameroonians and insist on a level playing field where the results of election does not go to one of the parties in contest. That is the only possibility that someone else could win. But if they are the ones who would decide, name one of the parties, then it's just a waste of time. So is there any possibility that within now and 2025 they are capable of changing the mentality of the people and putting down the structures that will enable the results to go to a neutral body? That is the question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are watching what is transpiring in Cameroon. I see all over the place. The CPDM, you can see the CPDM campaigning everywhere. I have not seen the opposition campaigning anywhere. Whenever you see a campaign, it is either the CPDM people or the Franc-Bia people campaigning to contest election as though there is no opposition in that country. And now you have Atanganji coming to threaten the opposition, saying, this thing you people are putting together called a coalition war is illegal. Can you imagine that? He says a political coalition is unconstitutional, it's illegal. Where has that happened? I mean, I don't know where these guys, they do their political science.
Do they have a constitution?
All right, please
Well,
stay
that
put.
is the kind of country that we are talking of associating with, isn't it?
Yes,
Madness.
right. That's the kind of country. They want us to associate with them. So they assimilate us and dictate to us and tell us how we conduct our political affairs. Of course, we are not going to accept that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back. I will be back in a few seconds. And when I come back, I take you into the main story of the day. The main story of the day that has to do with Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH demanding for an Anglophone president in Cameroon. Is that all what Anglophones in their context, is that all what they have been fighting and dying for the past 8 years? For a president? I'm coming with my monologue. Stay put.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH. Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH, the person whose face you find on your screen, says, Anglophones need a president to run Cameroon. And he believes that if an Anglophone is made president in Cameroon, the Anglophone crisis, as they describe it, would be over and tranquility will finally show up in the war-ravaged country of 8 years. Is that all what Ambazonians are fighting for? A recent front page article in the Cameroonian newspaper featured Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH, the person whose face you see on your screen. He was expressing the idea that if the political elite in Yaoundé could consider appointing an Anglophone as president, even for just one term, it might satisfy the Anglophone population and potentially lead to a cessation of violence, thereby restoring peace in the country. Dr. FOMUNYOH, a long-serving director for West and Central Africa at the National Democratic Institute, NDI, in Washington, D.C., is no stranger to political dynamics in the country. Yet, his suggestion of a quick fix to pacify the Ambazonian people comes across as self-serving, given his past political aspirations in the Cameroon political landscape. Before the outbreak of the Cameroon-Ambazonia conflict, Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH was making moves to establish a political party and to run for the presidential elections of October 2018. However, with the eruption of the conflict, his political ambitions were put on hold. As Cameroon gears up now for another election next year or late this year, Dr. FOMUNYOH has resurfaced. This time he is advocating for the urgent need for an Anglophone president, suggesting that an Anglophone leader over Cameroon could bring about positive change due to their cultural values of fairness, justice, and equity. It is not difficult to infer here that Dr. FOMUNYOH sees himself as a potential candidate for this role, given his previous ambitions and his emphasis on credentials and worth as a potential Anglophone president. Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH's argument revolves around the belief that having an Anglophone president would address the long-standing grievances of the Anglophone population and then promote a sense of equality among all Cameroonians. He even suggests that there is a reservoir of goodwill among Francophones for an Anglophone president. However, his reliance on Francophone goodwill to achieve this goal raises questions about the true nature of equity and meritocracy inherent in the Anglo-Saxon heritage. Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH's emphasis on the need for an Anglophone president in Cameroon as a solution to the ongoing war overlooks the deeper issues at play here. The notion that simply appointing an Anglophone to the presidency in Yaoundé would resolve the conflict is reductionist, and it would fail to address the root causes of the conflict. It is essential to acknowledge here that the Anglophone question encompasses a wide range of issues beyond mere representation at the highest level of government in Yaoundé. In his advocacy for an Anglophone president, Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH appears to overlook the complexities of the historical context of the Anglophone regions and their aspirations for self-determination. His repeated use of the term, and I quote, reunification instead of unification, reflects a misunderstanding of the history and sentiments of the Anglophone population. The historical context of the Anglophone regions and their struggle for recognition and autonomy cannot be overlooked in any meaningful discussion about their future within Cameroon, which is not going to happen anyways. It is clear that Dr. FOMUNYOH's focus on securing an Anglophone president may be driven more by political ambitions than a genuine commitment to addressing the grievances of the Anglophone population. Now, I'm using their terminology here. His failure to acknowledge the broader issues at play here and his reliance on Francophone goodwill as a means to achieve this goal reflects a narrow understanding of the complexities of the Cameroon-Ambazonia conflict. A lasting solution to the Ambazonian conflict will require more than just the appointment of an Anglophone president, sir. It demands a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of the conflict, respect the aspirations of the Ambazonian population, and fosters genuine dialogue between the parties, that is, Cameroon and Ambazonia, or what Dr. FOMUNYOH calls Anglophones. Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH and other influential figures, or elite as they are known, they ought to be using their platform, their leverage to advocate for a holistic and inclusive resolution to the conflict, rather than focusing solely on power aggrandizement, political maneuvering, and power dynamics. Only through genuine dialogue and commitment to justice and equity can an enduring solution be achieved for the Cameroon-Ambazonia conflict. And that is my monologue there, ladies and gentlemen. I am now being joined again by my team. I am sure that both of you gentlemen have read the newspaper story in which Dr. Christopher FOMUNYOH is suggesting that if Cameroon can, for the first time, give an Anglophone the office of the president, the war will be over, the conflict will be over, peace will return to that damn country. Comrade Dennis, let me start with you, sir. Is that your understanding that this is going to be the case? Just give us a president and the war is over. Anglophones will be happy.
No, I
and
think,
life
I
will
think,
move on.
Comrade Chris,
Give us your take, please.
Comrade Chris, I am very, very shocked that somebody who is said to have been working for this big organization misses the point completely when it comes to the Ambazonian issue. This is approach that he is saying means that the issue of self-determination of the Ambazonian people is not even taken into account. He wants to bypass the issue of self-determination and give a shallow solution that will fail after 1 year. Now, let me just ask a simple question. What will happen if they decide that an Anglophone holds power now and thereafter they never elect another Anglophone again? What happens? Do we start a war all over? Now, let me first of all point out these facts. Has he addressed the root causes of the conflict, or he just thinks that it is about who is in a 2D. So, Comrade Chris, I don't know how this man thinks or how these people at this level think, because how does becoming the president of La République du Cameroon end the annexation of our country, Ambazonia? That is the first thing I want to ask. How does that give us a majority in the National Assembly where all decisions are made? I want to know. I want to know. How does that give us the right to fly our flag, sing our anthem, and protect our territorial integrity? As long as Ambazonia remains in one country with French Cameroon, Ambazonians will never breathe because their classrooms will be filled by Francophones. The language will be dominated through the law of numbers by French. They will never be able to use their own inherited institutions as the Francophones want to use their own inherited institutions. So I don't understand this mentality and where it is coming from, because the root of this thing is our annexation. And remember, let me go back to a fundamental point. There is no way Ambazonia can reconcile with French Cameroon without going back to examine the legal documents that link the two countries. Are there any documents that link the two countries? How do we begin to mix up and say they should give an Anglophone a presidency when the legal documents that link the two countries are not there? We must go back to the root and see which documents bind the two countries, and from there move on by correcting the history so that each party has its clear identity defined. When he talks of reunification, how could there be a reunification between things that had never been united before?
Well, let
Ambazonia or the
let us
South.
go back. Let us go back a little bit to the foundation of this. I stated in my monologue that I think it was in 2016, 17, and 18 and so, Dr. FOMUNYOH was on the ground prospecting running for president in the October 2018 presidential elections. He actually set up a radio station in Bamenda that would help him carry out his propaganda. He carried out some humanitarian projects. He was sharing food, going up north of Cameroon and everywhere, doing charitable work. And he was being called, invited, and conferred with titles all over the place in the different fondoms in Ambazonia. He was setting the groundwork for becoming president of Cameroon. He would eventually launch a party. Initially, there were talks of him leading the SDF ticket, but I think the SDF people kicked against that. Some of them kicked against that, and he was now prospecting on launching a party. Now, when the war came up, the idea was put on hold. Now, you can imagine that Cameroon is talking about normalcy returning, and everywhere they are believing they are going to conduct elections. Of course, they will, but not in Ambazonia. And so, Dr. FOMUNYOH is back and suggesting that if Francophones can just allow an Anglophone this time to become the president of Cameroon, maybe even if it means only for one term, it would have ended this war and brought tranquility back into the country. It appears to me that this is all about himself. Comrade Ephraim, if I'm wrong, let me know.
Yes, thank you. I've always known this guy to be a very opportunistic fellow. I have not heard about him talking about justice. I've not heard him talk about justice. He comes out to talk about an Anglophone president. That word Anglophone president there to me seems like a misnomer. Anglophone meaning, if I understand him, that Ambazonia is under La République, and then somebody comes from Ambazonia and becomes president of whatever they call it. No, it's not going to happen. This is where we stand. There is a problem in the history. Somebody or a country tried some foul play and they used a dictator to impose everything on us, and we went quiet. We shut up until there came a time when we said no, enough is enough. If he still, well, you know what? Anybody can take him as president of their country. Nigeria could take him as president of the country. It's none of my business. It's none of our business. He can be the president anywhere. He can go and be president of the Republic. That has nothing to do with us, if the constitution so allows. But to go anywhere to become or contest for president in the maybe thinking that he represents Ambazonia, no, no. Ambazonia is Ambazonia. La République du Cameroon is La République du Cameroon. We have long said so, and that's where it's going to stand. Let him carry his opportunism to La République and leave Ambazonia alone. He has the right to renounce his country. Anybody has the right to renounce his country and belong to a different country. But to say he's going to carry on his back or he's going to let Ambazonians lie down for him to climb on top and access the higher rungs of power, popularity, or anything, any fame, the name of Anglophone, I reject that completely, and he's not going to succeed. The problem of Ambazonia lies in the history of it. How do we come to be here? We have discovered what they did. They tried to bury it under a thick blanket of lies and the rest of it, but we discovered it. And we said, no, this cannot happen. And then somebody comes up from there. Well, let him join the Tanganyis of the world and do whatever he cares to do in La République. But Ambazonia, no, we are on our own. They can deny it for as long as they want. He's just trying to continue to push that balloon, that thick balloon, under the water. There's nothing he can do. It has to surface. Even if they can do it now. But again, it's already at the surface, and we have to enlighten all of us, those of us who are just having fun over there, that we are on our own. We are not La République.
Let me read to Comrade Dennis the reference I make to the point that this may all just be about him and not necessarily about Cameroon and not about Anglophones, as he put it. Now, listen to what the report says, and I'm quoting here. He backed his submission on grounds that an Anglophone can fix this country, of course, referring to Cameroon, not just because it is an Anglophone, not just because our cultural upbringing has embedded in us certain values of fairness, of justice, of equity, and equilibrium vis-a-vis everyone else. But, he says, also because it is someone, these are his words, it is someone who has the credentials and has proven his or her worth. There is no doubt to me Dr. Chris FOMUNYOH will be well qualified to lead that country. The problem is with the times and what the people of Ambazonia are demanding for. We are not demanding for a union with Cameroon, one and united indivisible Cameroon, which is where he is putting his legs on the wrong platform. But am I wrong listening to that inference to one who has the credentials and has proven his worth, Comrade Dennis?
I know, Comrade Chris, I don't think you are wrong. These are one Cameroonese people, you know. He, as I tell you, he has carefully avoided the issue of the self-determination of the people of Ambazonia. It means that the wishes of the people will never be consulted. He is aiming at going to become the president of La République du Cameroon, and the idea of someone with the right credentials and so on. Who is he referring to other than himself, maybe? So I think that this man is mistaken what the people of Ambazonia want. We have our own territory. We have everything that we need. Why must our lives be linked to those of the people of La République du Cameroon? That's the fundamental question that I want FOMUNYOH to answer. Why must the fate of Ambazonia be linked to the fate of La République du Cameroon? Can he explain that to us? What do we lack to rule
He
ourselves
says
that
there
we
are
can only get by
francophones
going
of
to join
goodwill who
Cameroon?
want to see an Anglophone president. Francophones of good. And then I
Yeah,
ask, it was only a few days ago Albert Zonga told us that Francophones
of
gang up
course,
together, even opposition Francophones, when they realized that the presidency was going to an Anglophone. And they said, no, this cannot
exactly.
happen. And yet, Dr.
It
Chris
cannot
FOMUNYOH
happen.
wants us to believe right now, at this moment, those same Francophones are ready to accept an Anglophone president.
Now, but Comrade Chris, let me ask you: if they were ready today, what is the guarantee that they will be ready tomorrow? I read somewhere that a slave is someone who does not believe that he has the power to make his own decisions and so surrenders himself to another person to be the one to decide his fate for him. It looks like some Anglophones have actually become slaves who believe that for any reason, La République must be the only one to decide our future for us. Because how can it be
You make a
explained
very
that?
good point there, because when I was reading through his interview, I was asking myself, oh, Anglophone has the goodwill. The Francophones have the goodwill to give us an Anglophone president, as if they have the exclusive right to give us the presidency in the country they call that our country. They want us to believe it is our country, but a certain class of people would have the authority, the exclusive right to give us the power to get a president. Think about that. That is the reasoning
Not only to give
of a slave servant.
a slave, Comrade Chris, not only to give, but to take at will. Because if they give today, they can take tomorrow at will, and there's nothing you can do. Why would the people of the Southern Cameroon surrender themselves to be done with as the other people want and as to their whim and caprices? The day they want, they put you. The day they don't want you, they remove you as they want. Why should we surrender ourselves to that? Why? Let FOMUNYOH come and explain. I'm suggesting that you invite him to come and explain his point of view so that
And by the way,
Ambassadors can ask him questions.
I forgot to mention that I actually texted him and invited him to appear on this show. He did not respond. I actually also forwarded the poster advertising this show to him, hoping that he will reach out to me. I did not hear from him, but this platform is very wide open. Anytime, any moment you would like to show up, we are more than willing to have him here. But Comrade Ephraim, he talks about reunification, and I've heard this language again and again and again from this so-called elite. Reunification. Reunification suggests that we were part of Cameroon before. That means being part of something. I'm sure you were a good history student. Where did you read that we were once part of Cameroon? If we were part of Cameroon, where do we find boundaries with Cameroon? If you can explain that. Or is it not just being intellectually dishonest to keep using that word reunification?
Yeah, sure, sure. What happened in history is pure theft. Nothing short of that. One person who thinks that he is stronger, and we live in a world of survival of the fittest, thinking that he can just grab another group, another people, a territory with boundaries, by the way, separating the two of them. Just thought, okay, I'm stronger, I am strong, so I can just grab these people. Again, once bitten, twice shy. Even if we were to have the goodwill of saying, okay, let's combine with these people and form a country, and even with that, reserving the right to reverse, like Senegal and Senegambia did. Even if we were to do that, what would we still be trying to see? Haven't we been there before? We have. And how well did it work? How well did it work? So anybody who thinks that he should return to that and try something again. I don't know what they're looking for. Well, no, how can you do the same thing over and over and then expect something else to come up? The Francophones, I hate that term, La Republicains, that's the right way to call them. That is to say, people of Cameroon are not people you could ever trust. Cameroon, Ambazonia, some people may want to call us Southern Cameroon, and that's still the right term. We are separate people, different in every way. And if Mr. FOMUNYOH, he says Dr. FOMUNYOH, okay, if Dr. FOMUNYOH thinks that he should become the president of Cameroon, he should understand that he's going there alone. I mean, if he wants to be the president of Nigeria, if Nigeria gives him the room, he can go be president there. If he wants to be president of Senegal and they give him the room, he can go and be president there. But to think that he's going anywhere, to Cameroon, to Congo, to anywhere to be president and believes that he is with Ambazonia, he is not. Ambazonia is Ambazonia. Ambazonia is not part of Nigeria. Ambazonia is not part of Cameroon. Ambazonia is Ambazonia. He goes there alone.
Dennis, let me come to you on this question of reunification because you know the narrative more than any one of us here. If you can educate the Amazonian people on this question of reunification and unification, which one is which, sir?
Yeah. Comrade Chris, let me ask you a simple question. If for some reason France and Britain were to decide to form some kind of union, would it be called reunification because they were at one time colonized by the Roman Empire?
Of course not.
That's what I want to know. Because you see, La République de Cameroun, with its international personality, and the Southern Cameroons, with its international personality, had never been one country at any time in the past. There had never been one country at any time in the past. It is true that both people were colonized by Germans, but this was not a union of peoples, but a union of two countries. It was territorial unity between two countries. It is not a union of peoples as such. No. So nobody could address it as reunification because La République had its independence only on the 1st of January 1960. Our own independence was due on the 1st of October 1961. So these two entities had never been part of one single unit before. In fact, if you go to the British declassified documents, you will see that the British were terribly afraid that the Southern Cameroonians would destroy the plebiscite votes because they knew how much we hated La République de Cameroun system. They were afraid that we would destroy the Southern Cameroon, the plebiscite votes. So until the plebiscite passed, before they held their breath that it had actually passed, because they knew how much we hated that system. So how could anybody be using the word reunification as if we were one entity before? We were never one entity. It was just a matter of fraud, deceiving people and causing people to repeat those things until they finally believed that we were one people. We were not one people. It is like joining England and France. They have never been one people before. They have
And
never been one
it's
people.
like joining,
Because
putting the European Union together and telling that and saying that they are all one people.
exactly, that is exactly what it is. It is a massive fraud. It is a massive fraud. So that is something that we came to repeat, but we should now educate our people that there was never any reunification because it was a physical impossibility for two things to be said to be reunited when they were never one before. They had never been unified before. So it
Right.
is a
For there to
complete
be
theft.
reunification, it would imply there was unification in the first place.
Before.
But we don't have that history
Exactly.
anywhere.
No, we don't have. We don't have.
Yes.
We inherited different institutions. They inherited different institutions. Those institutions were never mixed at any time previously. So how could they be talking of reunification? No, it is just an act of theft,
In fact,
deceit, pure deceit.
if there is reunification, then the boundaries should not be there. The boundaries should not be there in the first place, right?
Now, you remind me one thing, Comrade Chris. You know, when they went to the Bakassi case, they claimed that the boundaries crystallized on the 1st of October 1961 and not on the 1st of January 1960. They hit the 1st of January 1960 as the Independence Day and took the 1st of October 1961 as the date on which their boundaries crystallized. Pure theft. Unfortunately, the ICJ never questioned them on that matter, and they denied us access to the court.
Well,
So
because
because we had interpleaded,
they were claiming the Southern Cameroons is part of their territory, but they forgot the history.
no, you see, they used the 1913 Franco-German border, which defined the boundary between the Southern Cameroons and Nigeria, as the boundary of La République du Cameroon and Nigeria. You see, and nobody detected that Nigeria was unable to make an argument, and the thing passed like that. So it was a massive fraud at the ICJ in the Bakassi case, and that is what Cameroon is counting on.
Yeah. But let me get to Comrade Ephraim there, because Dr. FOMUNYOH is suggesting there that if an Anglophone is given the post of president, then the Anglophone question would have been solved. Comrade Ephraim, so all that Anglophones have been fighting and dying for within the past 8 years is just looking for a position? Is that what the Anglophone question, as they know it and we know it, is?
Nothing could be further from the truth. Again, as we have said, we are a people with a culture and everything you can think of. We are different from the people from the other side that some people want to call our brothers. Yes, I'm a brother to anybody in Africa. So, like you said, we have not been fighting. All of these people have not died. FMA and so on, they didn't die because we're wanting to have what he calls an Anglophone president. No, we are fighting for our culture. We are fighting for our territorial integrity. And and when we talk about culture, culture is all encompassing. Our way of education, our legal system, and this and that and that. Again, something was tried in the past, even though through theft. I'll call it colonization. Something was tried in the past for there to be a Southern Cameroons, which eventually became West Cameroon. And
if I may stop you a little bit there, because you mentioned something that goes back to history. You know, they use the word reunification to delete the word annexation and colonization that we have accused them of. You get a point?
I do. And
yeah, I think that's what they want to do. When they use, every time they talk of reunification, they give the impression we were one. And so when you said we are colonized, no, we're just one country in the past. But go on.
Yeah, I do know that at one time in our history there was something like German something something, and all of these people, Ambazonia, La République, even I'm told even parts of Gabon. I'm not very versed with that history. But if that's what they're referring to, reunification, we reject it. Whatever way they call it, whatever term they give to it, we reject it. As far as I know, we were simply recolonized. I say because we were colonized in the past by various Germany and Britain and the rest of it. So I will call it what they're doing there. We are not accepting it. They have deceived us once. We tried something to be with them through theft. We're not even allowed to talk about it. And it didn't work. It has not worked. And we say, okay, enough is enough. We are ending it here. There's nothing like whatever the Cameroon that they have in their minds. There's nothing like that. We are Ambazonia. They are Cameroon. We know where that name Cameroon came from. That was their name before they committed their theft and then tried to go through Federal Republic of, or we know that history. So they should keep to their side. The boundaries are well defined. There's nothing like reunification. Okay, if they want to insist on the word reunification, okay, if you are reunifying with somebody, doesn't he have an opinion? And that is a unification between who and who? Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. No, simply no. We have tried it before. It didn't work. It didn't work. We can't go there again.
Comrade Chris, let me just intervene a little bit
All
to
right.
clarify this to our people. Let our people understand that under German Cameroon, there was no British Southern Cameroon and there was no La République du Cameroon. These two entities emerged from the dissolution of German Cameroon. So there is no possibility of there being anything like a reunification. German Cameroon did not have the British Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroon. Those two territories emerged when German Cameroon was dismembered by the Versailles Treaty. So let us be clear about that. You see, they count on all these things to confuse our people. No, there was no British Southern Cameroon in German Cameroon, and there was no La République du Cameroon in German Cameroon. They emerged after German Cameroon was dissolved. So if La République du Cameroon is pretending that it is a successor state to German Cameroon, then let it claim those parts that were in Chad, Central African Republic, Congo, and so on. But unfortunately, it is not doing that. It is clinging on the Southern Cameroon to claim that they are reuniting with the Southern Cameroon. They have never been united at any time in their past. No, they have never been united at any time in their past. Let our people understand this very well. Let our people understand this very well.
And you made a point earlier, comrade, that our people should not be deceived, not this time again. If they are given their president, according to Dr. Chris FOMUNYOH, and he rules for a term, which I believe they are going to, if they have to do that, they will cut it down to 5 years. Remember, it's 7 years now. They will make sure they trim it to 4 or to 5 years. And once the 4 or the 5 years are over, that will be it. Now, you may have...
That will be it. They say bye-bye. You know?
Yeah, they say bye-bye. Now, you may have parliamentarians there, some may argue. You may have senators and have the so-called regional councils and councillors and assemblies and stuff. But these people still have no power to veto a vote in their parliament, in their senate. You can come up with multiple bills from the regional assembly houses, but they are meaningless where you cannot get them actualized from the central government in Yaoundé. A system that doesn't allow you to vote for your governor, vote your mayor, and kick out these so-called DOs and sub-DOs and so on. It is a non-people, it is an anti-people system. And so, the idea that a president will just be the magic one that resolves this conflict, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how anybody can buy it. And I hope to receive some phone calls from Ground Zero to know what they think about this, that a president will go to assuage the anger of those who are fuming over the brutal killing of their loved ones and the decimation of their communities.
Comrade Chris, your microphone. Your microphone.
I'm getting him. I'm getting him.
Yeah, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
Okay,
Yes,
I can get
yes.
you now. I can get you now.
Yeah, so there is not a solution. This is not a solution. And Comrade Ephraim, let me come to you. I think that, again, people like Dr. Chris FOMUNYOH, whom I believe is overqualified, ladies and gentlemen, to become a president of any country, talk less of Ambazonia. I think it is time that they come to the table and speak like people who belong, people who are part of us. Let us get an enduring solution to this conflict. They want to run for president in Ambazonia or in Cameroon after the conflict is settled. We have no problem. But at this moment, for him to be talking about an Anglophone being a president in Cameroon, it means people are dying and he just doesn't care. All he cares is who become Cameroon's president. Comrade from place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's fighting for himself. He's fighting for his own stomach. See, correctly, you can go to Ambazonia, pick, let's say, 100 persons, go to La Republique du Cameroon, pick 100 persons and put them in a body and you call them parliamentarians and tell them, okay, they will make the decisions of the country, any country, whatever they are on their minds. Did the people pick the representatives? Did they freely choose those representatives? To the extent that that did not happen, you are not going to find peace. There's no justice there. We know what La Republique does. They send some of their people to, their military people to come to Ambazonia and pick up people left and right and take them to Yaoundé and call them parliamentarians. Were they chosen by the people? If FOMUNYOH is made is that the name? If he's made president tomorrow, FOMUNYOH, if he's made president tomorrow of some envisaged Cameroon, encompassing La Republique du Cameroon and Ambazonia, if he's made the president there, is still representing Ambazonia, and if he is, was he picked by Ambazonians? I mean, this don't really make any sense to say Ambazonia picking somebody to be president. No. Again, if he wants to run as president, he can as well decamp, he can as well renounce his country, Ambazonia. He has the right to do it, and go and be president of La Republique du Cameroon, just like he can be president of any other country. Yeah, he looks like he has the personality of a president. Yeah, but what is on his mind? Does he see Ambazonia as a stolen territory, as an annexed or colonized territory? Is that how he sees it? And how does he plan to do justice? The only way to do justice is to say, okay, let's go back to what happened. These are the people. They have the right to make decisions for themselves. You're not going to take them, annex them, what did Bia say? Assimilate or something like that. Yeah, assimilate them and think that that's justice. Well, that's justice for yourself. You would have, I mean, you end up gathering a lot of power, a lot of money for himself. If I tell you he's going to have power, and at the end of it, he can be made to say anything. What are these people who left Ambazonia to La Republique in the name of parliamentarians and senators? What are they doing? Are they representing Ambazonia? They are not. They're there for themselves. And we can't have this again. La Republique can correct to fool themselves and say we have a parliament or whatever, senate that has people from Anglophone Cameroon. Did the people of the group that they call Anglophone Cameroon, did they pick those representatives? Did they? So you cannot do, I mean, it's a system that cannot stand. You can't make it right. Except you say, okay, these are people. You basically reverse the theft. And really, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Freedom is not gained on a platter of gold. Nobody's going to say, okay, Ambazonia, there you go. No, it's not going to happen. We have to seize it. We have to seize it. And by this, calling on everybody, Ambazonian, why a fight to put up? The some people just want to go around and say, no, I don't want that one. I think. Okay, that's how you think. You think it's the thing of a few people. No, we all have to come together and do right and correct what happened. And we're going to correct it by force. If La Republique is not wanting to let us go, they're just telling us that, as it is known, freedom is never given you on a platter of gold. We have to do it.
All right. Thank you for
Comrade
that
Chris,
commentary.
let
I
me
hope
just
that the people on Ground Zero, they're listening to us, and we do not want them to have any illusion that an Anglophone, as they call it, becoming the president of Cameroon can help us in any way, that will never happen. Frundi, we should never forget the revelations of Albert Zonga about Frundi, the same francophones that Dr. Chris FOMUNYOH is referring to. They gang up against an Anglophone president in Frundi's ADF. That is not going to happen today, and even if it happened, what change can it make? Does that give us Sonora? Does that give us back?
Comrade Chris,
Yes, sir.
I just want to come back to the point you made. Why are these people not engaging the Southern Cameroonian community to express their opinion so that we examine it and they answer to us? You see, they are trying to maneuver the way above our heads and go and decide without consulting the people of the Southern Cameroon. One thing we need to ask for Munyo is, does he believe in the right of the people of the Southern Cameroons to express themselves freely? If he does so, he should be fighting for the people of the Southern Cameroon to express themselves freely. He should not be telling us that we need to go and do.
Absolutely.
Southern Cameroon needs to be a president of La République de Cameroon. No.
Right. I don't know why people pick people in well-established positions with their influence choose the wrong fight. People like Dr. FOMUNYOH should be. Can you imagine? He sits there at the National Democratic Institute and he has access to world powers and every single leader in Africa, though he is restricted to West and Central Africa, but he is essentially, he has access to almost any leader in the world you can think of. But no, you will not hear him saying, I am talking to the Chinese, I am talking to the French, no, he just wants to be president of Cameroon, or he just wants us to stick with Cameroon so that maybe he can become president. Well, I think with what is happening in Senegal, people like him should be learning that if the elite will not free the youth will free themselves. Thank you. Stay put in there. I will be right back. And when we come back, we will be talking about Paul Atanga Nji, choosing who becomes the phone in Momo in Momo County. Don't go away. Stay put.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com.
All right. Thanks for staying put, ladies and gentlemen. You have on my screen the face of Paul Atanganji. The face of Paul Atanganji. Many of you out there, if you are from Ambazonia or from Cameroon, you know who Paul Atanganji is. Paul Atanganji is the colonial minister for they call it Minister of Territorial Administration, or is it decentralization? And now, so suddenly, the government of Cameroon has gotten the powers to go to the local communities to decide who becomes a fon or a chief in that community and exactly the sphere of influence of that chief or fon. This is something that has never happened in the past because chieftaincy in most of Africa is hereditary. But in Cameroon, the government is coming in through their through ministers like this one, just walk into any community and decide after probably money has changed hands, decide who becomes the fon or the chief in that community. We saw it recently in Momo County, precisely in the Menemo, where Paul Atanganji descended upon the community and elevated a third-class fon, I believe, to a full first-class fon without observing due traditional procedure. The face of the chief we're talking about is this one seated. To call him chief of FOMUNYOH or something like that, if I'm wrong, Comrade Ephraim, you will correct me. But that is the fon that Paul Atanganji, using his powers, elevated from a third-class chief to a fon without consulting kingmakers in the Menemo community. Comrade Ephraim, you come from Menemo. You are actually the chair of Menemo local government area here with the interim government. You know what the tradition for Menemo or Momo or Meta or Mogamo, what tradition obtains for the coronation, the making of a chief like this one? Was that observed?
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris. The Meta people, or more accurately, the Menemo people in the northern zone have a unique culture. For you to be fon or chief is the decision, first and foremost, of the person that got missing, the lost fon. Before he gets missing, he's already transmitted, communicated to his kingmakers and to some other fons, call them colleagues, that in case I don't return from my journey, or in case I get lost, this is how I am going to come back. This is how I come back. The embodiment of the new person. After that, that person has to be exposed. So there's a traditional right, we call it in Meta Ewu. A group of people, including the people referred to as Bermogwe, and the whole Meta community, the whole Menemo community, had to climb up a mountain, come back down. It's a very huge ceremony. They come back down, and on the at the entrance back into the palace, the new person that was already well known to the other funds and to other authorities in that fundum, that new person is then held. I'm giving you a direct translation. Is then held, and then he enters the palace. Eventually, he is exposed to the people. So, two things went wrong there. Two things went wrong. One, he is not, according to information, he is not that person that was picked by the person that got missing. Secondly, owing likely to the fact that he knew he was not the person and was just trying to usurp power, did it his own way. The people that were involved in all this were the BIRs, La République Occupation Army. This person has lived most of his life, or a good part of his life, in La République du Cameroon, in Yaoundé. That's where he resides now. So the BIR brought him in an armored vehicle. The Bees conducted the traditional ceremony, and this person was enthroned, imposed on the people, because first of all, he's a stooge of Atanganji. He's a stooge of Atanganji. This ex-convict that La République had a lot of interest in because they knew they could control him, and made him a minister in their country. That's up to them. So, under the authority of La République and guarded by armored vehicles and people in military gear with their guns, they went to Njinibi and enthroned him. Well, somebody asked me, did they really enthrone him? Yes, a number of funds were there. You know, you can always have a number of people who are ready to do the wrong thing, even though they know that, even though they know better. They did what they did under the watchful eyes of these military people. He was enthroned there, I am told, on a chair that did not belong to his father. He probably had to fear that chair, because injustice in Meta is a very terrible thing. You can bury it for some time, but it's going to come to surface. And shortly after that, he entered the armored vehicle and was reached off to Yaoundé, which is where he lives. That's where his fundum is. So a number of things went wrong. So now what did Atanganji do next? Atanganji signed some order, nonsense, dead on arrival, some order to say the person of Njinibi, His Royal Highness from FOMUNYOH, had been elevated to the level of second-class chief or something like that. The worst thing he did there was, he said, with jurisdiction over other funders. That is a no-no in Meta. It is not allowed. First of all, it is not to be decided by a colonial or anybody. Those things are done, like you said, is by hereditary. You have to inherit it. The missing person has to choose you. Then there's a traditional ceremony that takes place. And then you are enthroned for the people. If any military people come there just for observation, just their own interest, just seeing what is happening. And there is, if you study the tradition of the Meta people, or the people of Momo, they came from an area called Widikum, which today we know is the Widikum Algier. They came from there, and they first settled in Zangbeng. There in Zangbeng, there were many sons And the person there dispatched his sons to various places to conquer those places. And when he dispatched them, of course, dispatching them means making them fun. So when they make you fun, they give you all authority. So, uh, for example, you have, uh, let's say, Njindom. The palace of Njindom originated from Mbemi. The palace of Mbemi was one of the pioneer palaces. There are several other pioneer palaces. Nyen, Zang, Tebi, Ku, Bosa. There are other ones. So each of these palaces later made their despite their sons in various directions to conquer other areas in Menemo. But this is very important. The fact that Jindom originated from Mbemi, the fact that Guneku originated from Nyen does not give any fun. The fun of Nyen, the fun of anywhere, any power to decide anything in that next village or that next founder. So the person of Nyen cannot go to Guneku and make any decisions there. There's nothing like jurisdiction. So this person, Atanganju, who has no appreciation for Menemo culture, nor for any culture in the northern zone and in Ambazonia as a whole, he just wants to bastardize the thing and they make some financial gain for himself as whatever he calls himself, minister. He thinks that he has a right. He thinks that he has the right, including the right as we call himself, well, Minister of Territorial Administration, to come into Menemo and make decisions that are not up to him to make. They're not up to anybody. They are not up to anybody to make. You have to go to the tradition. How does it happen? How does it happen? It's not by appointment, for goodness sake. So this person who knew everything being equal, he would not have been the fun. He imposed himself. He went through some fake traditional ceremony there, and then was whisked off to where he came from for protection. Now he calls himself fun. And then the next step is he's made a fund over other funds. This whole thing about one fund being, let's say, a paramount fund or whatever we call it, it's a foreign construct. It doesn't belong to Menemo. For example, if you go to Mancon, there's a fund there that we call fund. I can't remember his name. The fund of Mancon. In Menemo, it is not so. There are funds here, fund there, and each of them has full powers in his constituency. So while we have this form of administration in Mancon that we can call the pyramid, where there's somebody at the top, in Menemo, we have the collegial system. You are colleagues. The fact that my palace originated from your own palace, Comrade Chris, does not give you any jurisdiction. When once I'm made fun, it ends there. If you visit, for example, if the fun of Bemi were to go to, and as it happened severally when I was still a younger person, if he came, when he came to Jindom, he is welcome there as a fun. Any fun from Meta, and I would say any fun from anywhere else in the northern zone, is given that recognition. You are a fund, you have your respect. But do not, by that fact, say I have a say in decisions in that palace that you have visited, just because that palace originated from your own. It doesn't happen that way.
So what has been the reaction of the population of Menemo and, of course, that of other kingmakers in the area?
Given the situation that we have there, some people just stay quiet and say they are joking, they are playing. I've asked a number of people and say, no, don't worry about that. That is null and void. because it is not known in Menemo culture that you can make a fund to be subordinate to another fund. It just doesn't happen. It just
Now,
doesn't happen.
Paul
If you look at
Atanenji,
it,
going with the degree, appointing this fund seated there, elevating him to a second-class fund, they also carve out some territory that he would be in charge. Am I right?
that is what he did. He had the Barakwe, Chenam, Wumnebi, Bemi, Cope, and Gundam. By the way, Gundam and Bemi are pioneer chiefs. Those who came from Zambeng, they originated from that palace just as much as the person from that Njinibi. So Njinibi, Ku, Mbemi, Gundam, Bosa, these are, I think there's one more. These are pioneer chiefs from Zambeng. You cannot then make one under another. Nor can you even make a palace that originated from any of these pioneers to become subordinate to any of the pioneers. No. Once you make a fund, you get that slap on his back, go. You have all authority. That traditional slap, there's a way in which it is done. You're giving him all authority. You cannot then tomorrow step into his fundum or his chiefdom and say you are making a decision there. So when Aftanji says jurisdiction meaning the power to make binding decisions. No, not in Menemo. Not in
Are the
Menemo.
other funds in Menemo, the funds or the chiefs in Menemo, are they respecting this decision from Paul Atangenji, and are they according this chief the same respect as they would do to a naturally enthroned fund?
You know, you're always going to have a handful of people who say, okay, no, it's all right. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong by our culture. Yes, there are some of them who will go to ceremonies with him. The few, I don't know if he even attended any ceremony, because as soon as he was made, Atanji made him fun. As soon as Atanji made him fun, thanks to a handful of other funds or chiefs who were there to enthrone him, he left for Yaoundé. So there are some who will handshake him, because that's a big thing. A fund handshakes a fund. A fund does not handshake somebody who's not a fund. So some of them do, others don't. So they're injecting this division into the people to bring chaos, divide us, divide the minimum people, and conquer them. This is their playbook. This is what they do. But I'm telling the rest of the people, be careful. What the Meta man calls Ndon, that is curse, in Meta is very strong. You have to be careful. And that's probably why he did not, it was reported to me that he was not even enthroned on his father's chair. Somebody told me he brought a chair from Yaoundé and was enthroned on it. I don't know. I wasn't there. But even the people, his subjects, the people of Jinibi, are still in dispute. Some of these things have happened in the past. Okay, people have imposed themselves, but in the end, they were enthroned by the people. Whatever happened in the choosing of who he was going to be is not known to the people, because that's a secret decision that is made and then exposed to the people when he's enthroned. Whether it was the right person or not, the people saw that this is the person that was enthroned. But did he go through that traditional procedure, that traditional right? Did he go through it?
All right.
With guns, with big military men, guns pointing everywhere.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. We're going to open the phone lines to callers to weigh in on the discussion of the day. Before you call, please make sure that the volume of your television set or computer, whatever you are watching with, make sure the volume is turned down. I cannot listen to you while you are on. While the volume of your set is turned high up. So the phone line is there on the screen. Go ahead, make your call. Let us know what is in your mind, especially this subject of Dr. Chris FOMUNYOH prescribing an Anglophone president, that he believes will resolve the conflict between Cameroon and Nambazonia. Again, the phone line is there on your screen. Go ahead. I'd like to hear I'd like to know what you are thinking. The phone line is there. Turn down the volume of your set before you call. So while I'm waiting for your call, I just like to remind members of the public, especially if you live within the DMV area. If you live within the DMV area, we are planning a tour of your area this weekend, but because the person who's supposed to be hosting the event is bereaved, we decided to do some changes. The new date is going to be announced. Let's get to the first caller here. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Northern Zone.
Okay, sir. What is your contribution?
Yes, to that matter of for the FOMUNYOHs, what is called FOMUNYOH one.
The phone. Is it FOMUNYOH or FOMUNYAM? Which of them? The phone or the politician?
Chris FOMUNYOHs.
Okay, Chris FOMUNYOH. Yes, sir. Go on.
Atanji Paul is who?
Atanji Paul is from Santa, I believe, right? And he is a colonial minister of decentralization, or what they used to call territorial administration.
What about the Prime Minister?
The Prime Minister, Dion Gute, is from India. He's Anglophone.
It's not Anglophone.
He is Anglophone.
Then, if they cannot, those people are not enough. What are they taking? What is actually taking place? It's only he want to be the president. What will happen?
That's a good question.
Yeah, those two people. Yes, the man, the Minister of Territorial Administration, govern all the territory. He's not doing anything. It's only when they come for president, except the president will come for something. What will happen?
Right, but even if they make them prime minister, or even if any of them is made president, how does it change the fact that we are an annexed territory?
Maybe I want to learn from you, but maybe they're not with the country. All the story that they're telling us that we have territorial boundary, we have everything, we have our government since 19 this. Because I'm talking my birth certificates are bigger at Anglophone, where we first of all have our headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
When all the story like this, the man's don't hear. Okay, anyway, I cannot blame him. He wants to have his own small thing from those people. You know, now when the water is dirty, everybody wants to come and catch your own fish.
Everybody wants to take advantage.
Yes. When the water is dirty, everybody wants to enter there and catch. When the water is dirty and confused, all the fish inside are confused. So everybody wants to grab his own because he knows what he's doing. He cannot walk. How?
All right.
Then to what that yes, to telling the post matter to be installed from. Do you know how they store phone in our village in Meta?
Tell me.
They thrown the phone traditionally. The women that take the phone to the hill some women, every woman have to take the phone, leave the halfway, then they record the put from the woo, the gun loaders. The colonial carry the person carry the population to the hill, they shoot the woo from the hill, they come down. When they come down, that's when they hold the reform, present the phone to the republic. And then who is how did that thing happen? And that man accept. Oh,
well, and nowadays, chieftaincy is bought and paid for, right?
Pay for no. They said in the matter talk. So let him be dancing that I'm dancing. They should not see him. Let him lose his life because of this thing. Here the territory they said I have to control. Gundam has a phone. All those places called how they go come up to Gundam.
All right. Listen, thank you for your contribution.
Yes,
thank you for your contribution. Let me get to the next callers.
Thank you.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Can you turn down the volume of your set, please? Turn down the volume of your set and focus on your phone.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Chris, I want to talk now about this thing where they talk about Dr. FOMUNYOH. So,
Yes, sir. Go on. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mutengene.
Mutengene. Okay. Go ahead, please.
Yes. It's the very thing where they try to talk about, say, whether the Pui president or who, you know, go have we for anything. Because they're inside fire now from Mutengene because of this mayor. The mayor, we got broke market, the tax, small angle, the way they just put on small pillars. And they talk about 1.2, 2.5 for people that will pay for protection. So that kind of thing. Then so like they put who for president, they no go still go. I really want to say more and put this thing, even for the activism. They talk about this mayor because this mayor now a turn to our flesh. They don't decide say it want suffer people for them. My me the way they send Jama, they will drive them say one be shit, they want do so, but still yet they want only find a way for collect money. So now they think that why they talk. They need to fight them. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. All right. The phone line is open. Go ahead. See, quite a number of you have been trying to call. The phone line is free. Go ahead and call. Go ahead and call. Like to hear from you what you think about the subjects we've been discussing here. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Momo.
From
Yes.
Momo. Okay. Where to be your contribution?
Yes. I want to talk about the issue of this phone issue.
Go on. Go on.
Yeah. I'm calling from Momo.
Yes. Go on. Go on. I didn't hear you.
Yes, this phone issue. I want to talk about the issue of the phones.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk.
It is the kingmakers. Yes, that can gather the population and re-establish a fund and not the administration.
Okay.
So we want to condemn that issue of administration creating funds and giving them right to be ruling the village. Thank you very much.
So is there anything where when I there for ground, when I feel do about something like this?
Yes. If we feel talk something like this one, if they put you for chair where it not be a chair, or in administration, it come
put person wey be the people choice na ballot for tradition we dey talk say na ballot. That mean I'm done.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the call. I hope say them they hear you. Thank you for the call, sir.
They want to condemn this attitude.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You have a good night. All right. In the absence of any other caller, we are going to call it a night. And Comrade Dennis, I'd like you to come in. You have been waiting in the background there for a while. Come in with your final thoughts, please.
Comrade Chris, thank you very much for this interesting topics that you bring up. Thank you very much for these interesting topics that you bring up. I think, let me see what is going on. So I think...
your microphone is on, just your image is kind of out of camera.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have discussed this thing very well. I'm hoping that the people in La République du Cameroon will see what has happened in Senegal, and that maybe they will stand up a little bit for their own rights, because Paul Biya has managed to hypnotize that country. Everybody, even cattle, reason better than Cameroonians today. They want to impose a dying man on the people, and it is very unfortunate that they don't even think about the vegetable state in which the man finds himself today, but they are still shouting to the top of their voice that they want Paul Biya to be a candidate. Whether he will survive even up to the election, we don't know. But it is shameful indeed to see the state in which the country has been reduced. A man who has achieved absolutely nothing, a man who has reduced the country to a state of complete chaos and disintegration without any achievement. They are saying that it should stand. We just leave it to them. That is their country. Let them do what they like. But we are glad that the example of Senegal is there for them to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Comrade Ephraim, what is in your mind listening to those callers and having the same opinion with you that what Atanganji did there was absolutely wrong?
Well, Comrade, it's not a matter of an opinion. Right is right and wrong is wrong. It's not an opinion. That's a major reason he went there with his military people, with their guns well seen, well inside. What he did was wrong. It's not allowed, and it's not going to hold. There's one other thing that I saw in that his order. He said he called something then Jinibi subdivision. They are in the habit of creating those administrative units left and right that they call divisions and subdivisions. I don't know when they created Jinibi subdivision. But be it as it may, Mr. Atanganji, do not mess up. Don't mess with the culture of the poor minimum. Don't even do it. I don't care who's helping you attempt something like that. Don't do it. The culture of the people of minimum remains the same. If some people are staying quiet now, it is maybe because they know you have military people backing you. Do not think that you have effected any change. The palace of Bemi, the palace of Barakwe, Chenam, they cannot be under the jurisdiction. That's what you used of another palace. It doesn't work that way. That's just what I'm going to tell him. Anybody who is close to him, who's used to him, carry this message to him. It's not a message from me. That is how it is. No palace is under the jurisdiction, no territory, no village, no fondom, no chiefdom is under the jurisdiction, as he put it, of another fund. It doesn't happen that we're not there in a Mancon. We're not there in a let me say so or those other places or Bafut where you have one fund. No, in Menemo rather, there is no pyramid. There's no pyramid. As I said, it's not pyramidal in Menemo. It is collegiate. You have full jurisdiction in your own fundom or chiefdom, and the other person has. Even if I originated, even if this palace originated from your own palace, when once you made that person fund and gave him that traditional slap, that was on the back. That was it. Finished. It's done. So let him go and consult with whoever is giving the impression that he could just get into Menemo and do anything he wants. If he has to be careful. He's looking for much trouble. And whoever is dancing to those tunes, be you a fond of Menemo, excuse me, be you a subject of Menemo, be you a what? You know fully well that you are doing the wrong thing. And you know what? You'll get it. I'm not saying you're going to get it tomorrow. I'm not saying you're going to get it the next hour, but you'll get it. Be careful. Atalanji, get out of Menemo culture and stop bastardizing it. To the other, talk about the other topic here. We call on our youths. See what the people of Senegal have done, the youth of Senegal. Are you going to spend all your life drinking alcohol, running after sardine, womanizing, and then you end up where? Okay, let's say you end up, you get some little bit of that stuff for yourself. What about your children? I'm talking to people of La République. What about your children? Unfortunately, I'm not going to speak French here. I would have addressed you in French. What about your children? So beware, be patriotic.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your being you being part of the show. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all that we have for you tonight. I will be back on Friday with a very special subject and, of course, some very special guests too. Friday, I promise, by God's grace, I definitely will be back here. So stay in the loop until I am back next time. Good night.